Hey everybody, good morning to you from the Sunnyvale Reject here in early morning West Palm Beach. My God, yesterday was a beautiful day. The weather in the beginning was in the low 60s. It ended up being a warm, crisp day, blue skies, and I hope today is no different. And I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're having a wonderful morning so far and that the weather is perfect for you. Guys, how about Halloween? Did you have a great Halloween? I did. And I celebrate Halloween all month long. All of October, I'm doing something spooky. You guys know a little bit about the books I've been reading, but I watched It. I watched Haunted. I watched Salem's Lot. I watched The Howling. And I watched Nosferatu, the series. I'm all the way up to episode 7 in season 1, and I'm loving it. I'm loving that show. Today I come to you with a video that, well, hell, I don't think I've really talked about this much on my channel. Short fiction. Today we're going to talk about wonderful, wonderful books of short stories that definitely molded and shaped me as a writer. I love each and every one of these books, and are they the best ever written? I don't know. I'm not saying they're the greatest. I'm just saying the books I'm about to show you are great short fiction that will teach you how to write if you pay attention to it and subconsciously and unconsciously proffer some great writing advice. Entertaining stories with intricate plots and deep characters that are not flat and that are not one-dimensional, but are multifaceted. And a few of these books really helped me to appreciate my roots, the way my people speak and our traditions, and it built a sense of pride in me that didn't exist before. So these are, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 great books of short fiction that if you read, I guarantee you, not only will you love it, but it will help you hone your skills as a fiction writer. Who knows, you may become a novelist one day. Short fiction is very hard because it's condensed, you know, and at least 2 of the people on this list. Wait, let me see. No, one person on this list considered themselves a failed poet, but he also won the Nobel and the Pulitzer. So come on. All right, so we're going to start with the most contemporary short story that I've read in this collection. I love it, but this one story stood out. Here we go. It is Stephen King's 5th book of short stories. It came out in 2008. This is called Just After Sunset. It's got that lovely color on the cover. Look at that reflection. Let's back it up a little bit. My God, what a nice looking book. Yeah, I mean, you want your books to be awesome as hell, content-wise, but you also want them to look good, right? I pull them off the shelf. I talk about them. I don't let people touch them, though. I say, hey, look at how awesome, and they'll reach out and I say, no, it's my baby. Yes, but this is the first edition. It came out in 2008, and the story I'm talking about is The Cat from Hell. That story makes this book. If you're looking for something, damn, man, it really reads kind of like an old Edgar Allan Poe story, but it's about a hitman and Drogon, this pharmaceutical heir or whatever. He started the company, he inherited it from his family, whatever. But they create synthetic pharmaceuticals, and for this one particular drug, they did a trial and they tested on cats. Somewhere around 15,000 cats died in the testing of this drug, which they say was okay because it saved millions. One of these cats comes home to roost, and Drogon's sister lets it in, and all hell breaks loose. She takes a nasty fall down some stairs. Did the cat trip her on purpose, or did he just get in the way? At the beginning of the story, there's 3 murders. You tell me. But read it, love it. And it comes towards the end of the collection, so there's going to be some bummers. Not all are good. Most are pretty good. There's going to be 3 or 4 that you're maybe 2 or 3 that you really don't care for, but when you get to The Cat from Hell, the book will have redeemed itself. There it is. One of the most contemporary short stories I've read, because I really don't read it. This came out in 2008. I still remember it. I love it. And if you're looking to be entertained, spooked, or write a good short story, read The Cat from Hell. All right. It's still early, y'all. On the list of the short stories that influenced me the most, I guess this book would be next. It's a hard one. I'm going to say Bats Out of Hell, Barry Hannah. Bats Out of Hell. Look at this amazing cover. There's my man right there, buddy. He taught at Ole Miss. He was really close and good friends with Donna Tartt. And in fact, he and Willie Morris convinced her that if she wanted to be a better writer, she had to get out of Oxford, which is crazy because it's a writing epicenter. I'm telling you, Oxford has so many great writers. He's one of them. Donna Tartt left, went to Bennington, where she ended up writing The Secret History at 28 years old, and the rest is history. But I love me some Barry Hannah. He went to Mississippi College in Clinton, Mississippi, and then got his MFA from the University of Arkansas. He's a native son, and his stories are very abstract and very masculine and short. I have to read them 2 or 3 times, but this book in particular, oh guys, I forgot to tell you. Let's see. Look at this. How could I forget? Not only is it a first edition, first print, but it is signed by the man himself. I love signed books because the people we admire, those writers we love and cherish, they held this book in their hands just long enough to write, and maybe some of that wonderful energy is transferred to us. All right? But this is Bats Out of Hell, and this is one of those authors that I was telling you about that helped me to appreciate my roots and my own accent. And it's full of lovable, backwards, deep-thinking characters, all right? And it's got a ton of short stories in it. Like I said, some of them are really short. This is one of those books, excuse me, this is one of those books that when you're reading it, you can tell that although inebriated, the author was having a whole hell of a lot of fun. And he's got there's not a lot of reviews, there's not a lot of YouTube videos, it's hard to find information on him, but there are some really good ones out there. And he's got some interesting stories, like when he was teaching in Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama, he and his wife got into a fight, and it became public. It got to the front yard where I can't remember if he actually shot the front door with a gun or if he pulled a bow and arrow back and shot the front door with an arrow, but he did something stupid like that and became a legend around those parts. It's Barry Hannah, Bats Out of Hell. He also wrote Ray and Geronimo Rex, and Ray is one of the shortest, greatest novels you will ever read. Just trust me on that. All right, so we got Stephen King's Just After Sunset. And now we've talked about Bats Out of Hell by Barry Hannah. Give it a shot. And this copy is so pretty and so, man, look at that. I love it. Okay. All right, next. This is very tough because these books shaped my life and I've never talked about it. I didn't even plan on it until I got to talking to a student, last week, and it got me thinking about my roots in writing and how hard it was for me to practice every day, y'all, every day. I've written 2 poetry books. They're finalists for major awards, but that doesn't really reflect all the hard work I put into it. I'm talking 12 years of writing those books, and I gave it everything, y'all, everything. And this was my apprenticeship, studying these books, because I didn't go to college until later in life. It's Edgar Allan Poe. This ancient-ass modern library copy that my mother bought me because she loved books, and she used to get these Time Life collections about haunted houses, about space, about ancient architecture. And I fell in love. Thank you, Mom. I love you for that. But she got me this complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe, and my God, I just ate it up. I never noticed that. I ate it up. Listen, with classics. I mean, this changed American literature forever. This book has, look, A Descent into the Maelstrom, The Murders at the Rue Morgue, The Black Cat, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Mask of the Red Death, The Cask of Amontillado, and more, and on and on and on. This book is amazing, and it is, not only are they scary, but these are well-written short stories, plotted precisely, beautifully, and with so many interesting, deep characters that you just can't go wrong. You can flip to anywhere in this book, and you might land on a crazy-ass, wonderful short story that'll change your life, or you might land on The Raven or Annabelle Lee. The poetry's in the back. This is the modern library, but you guys know Edgar Allan Poe. Get a copy, study the stories, read them, be entertained, and be educated. Something about Edgar Allan Poe, just real quick, that not a lot of people know. He had 2 other siblings, and he was born to some traveling actors, right? His mother and his father. His father came from a very well-to-do family and didn't really like the fact that he decided to do acting as a career. So they kind of shunned him a little bit for that. Long story short, they did travel around. There was a lot of instability in the family, although there was love. But Edgar Allan Poe's mother got sick. Some relatives and died. Some relatives came to the hospital to visit. There was three siblings. She had just had a baby not too long ago, and that would have been Edgar Allan Poe's younger sibling. And they were all distributed to different relatives. And as you know, Edgar Allan Poe went to Allen. What was his name? John Allen, I think. John Allen. Incidentally, Edgar Allan Poe's mother's name was Elizabeth Arnold Allen. Wait, no, Elizabeth Arnold Poe. E.A. Poe, just like Edgar Allan Poe. But as you know, Allen took him into the household where he experienced, wealth and the modern conveniences and luxuries like he could never have experiences at his home with his mother and father. They just didn't have it like that. So while he got affection from Miss Allen, Mr. Allen was kind of hard on him and pushed him, and with love and respect in mind. I think he wanted him to be the best he could be. And maybe they didn't think much of writers back then, because Edgar Allan Poe in that field never really did make a lot of money. I think the most he ever made was like $12 on The Raven, but they always had a falling out. He got him into West Point, and when Edgar Allan Poe screwed up at West Point, I think he was gambling and stuff like that. Allen said, "Enough's enough, man. You're out of my house. You're out of my life." And he cut him. He cut the umbilical cord, and E.A. Poe was on his own, and it didn't end well for him. But that tragedy, that inconsistency, that sense of abandonment, it made for some great, great literature, because he must have carried it with him into adulthood. But this is one of the best books ever written, ever written. Edgar Allan Poe's complete works. Read it, love it, be inspired by it, emulate it until you find your own voice. All right? Deep breath. We got a few more. Deep breath. Deep breath. Okay, let's see. Where do I go from here? Okay, I'm gonna say Flannery O'Connor. Everything that rises must converge. When I was reading these, I was very young. I was in, not like Peter Straub young, like reading in kindergarten type of thing, and not like Dickens at this point, as if reading for life. But I was out of high school, and I thought they were very simplistic, but they began to take root in my subconscious years and years later. They are simplistic, but that's the ruse. Pardon me, y'all. I was screaming during Halloween and I lost my voice, and it's starting to come back now. We'll edit that part out. But it's Flannery O'Connor. Everything that rises must converge. And while she was a Catholic writer, I didn't pick up on those themes back then, and I still don't necessarily think I do, unless there's some sort of Catholic guilt associated with it, because the things that these folks go through, they're everyday life type things where we contemplate our life, our purpose, the God upstairs, well, the man or woman upstairs, and where they are in our lives. It deals with small town prejudices and superstitions and backwards ways of thinking. But these characters are enduring, and the stories are poignant, and they always leave you with some tremendous reward that you want to proffer to somebody else along the way. But reading this book taught me the shape and science of the short story, and how to use regional dialect without alienating people. You have to be careful. You don't always want to use too much slang or regional dialect, or too many contractions. Everything, in moderation. And she does it all very, very well. It's Flannery O'Connor. Flannery O'Connor was working on Everything That Rises Must Converge at the time of her death. This collection is an exquisite legacy from a genius of the American short story, in which she scrutinizes territory familiar to her readers: race, faith, and morality. The stories encompass the comic and the tragic, the beautiful and the grotesque. Each carries her highly individual stamp and could have been written by no one else. I believe that, and she has my love and respect forever. Let's see. She also wrote Wise Blood, The Violent Bear It Away, and A Good Man Is Hard to Find, which is taught all over the place. It's not my favorite story of hers, but it persists, so it's got some universal appeal. But in this, see, here's your short stories, right? I think you'll really find, they're all good. Everything That Rises Must Converge is amazing. Green Leaf, A View of the Wood, The Enduring Chill, The Lame Shall Enter First, Revelation, Parker's Back, Judgment Day. I was going to say a couple, but they're all great. I don't want to single one or two out. They're all great. Read it and love it. This is one book where you will know you got your money's worth and you will carry it with you forever. I've had this copy forever. God bless Flannery O'Connor. Okay? Moving right along. Only two more books. Okay, so I have to say, William Faulkner. I've read almost everything Faulkner has written. There's a lot of Mississippi writers that don't particularly care for Faulkner, like Donna Tartt. She was more Dickens than Faulkner, and if she was going to read for entertainment, or was in the hospital and asked somebody to bring her a book, her words, she wouldn't choose Faulkner. But back then, I would have. Now, not so much. But back then, I loved Faulkner. The mythology, the world building. I mean, he created Yoknapatawpha, which is it's Oxford, Mississippi, but I can't remember the county there. Yoknapatawpha is the county, Oxford the city, the main city there in the county. But 500 years of history, tons and tons of family, quarrels, their begots, everything you could possibly think of. Their servants, histories and families and lines. Speaking of servants, one of the best stories in here is Dilsey, who's the real matriarch of the Compson family. But again, Faulkner, he rarely left Mississippi. Kind of like Emily Dickinson, his world took place in his head. He lived in New Orleans for a while, where he hung out with Sherwood Anderson and ended up writing his first book. I think Sherwood was a little bit jealous of Faulkner's prowess and potential because, well, Faulkner was kind of flamboyant anyway. They used to call him Count No Count. He knew what he had to offer, and he was confident even before his books came out that he could do it. And I really don't know where Faulkner's influence came from. I really don't. He had a pretty decent life, almost all of his life. He didn't have a lot of girlfriends. He didn't have a whole lot of friends. He did have some, though, but I think that people thought he was kind of stuck up walking around, Oxford with a cape on. But, he won the Nobel Prize. He won the Pulitzer Prize. He wrote The Sound and the Fury, As I Lay Dying, The Hamlet, Sanctuary, The Wild Palms, The Unvanquished, all of these wonderful, wonderful books. And they will always be read. They will always be in print, and they will always be taught. But this book of short stories is kind of like Raymond Chandler's, what was it called? Trouble is My Business. Those short stories informed everything that was to come after that. And the same with these. Not all of these started out as short stories, but some did. Some turned into complete novels. Some did not. All right, but anyway, this is The Portable Faulkner. And it's has an introduction by Malcolm Cowley, which is awesome and gives a whole ton of important biographical information on William Faulkner. But the stories that you're going to love and you're going to carry the message of these stories with you forever is A Justice. That's from the old people. The Bear from The Last Wilderness. And The End of an Order. That Evening Sun is incredible. A Rose for Emily, Dilsey. And then from Modern Times, Death Drag and Percy Grimm. These are amazing, deep, very, very richly written stories that have a musicality about them that you won't see again. Okay, so there's Faulkner, there's Cormac McCarthy, there's Donna Tartt. That's the lineage. And Donna Tartt's Goldfinch is the only book outside of Cormac McCarthy that I've seen this type of detailed, beautifully balanced language. Okay? Deep breath, I'm shutting up. And I'm so excited about these books, and I want to make you excited too, because I promise you, if you read them, you will love them. You'll at least understand what I'm saying. So after you read the short stories, go from here to As I Lay Dying. Go from As I Lay Dying to The Unvanquished, and then perhaps you're ready for The Sound and the Fury. Okay, guys, my favorite short story writer of all time. I love this man, and I met him. got to shake his hand, and he gave me a Marlboro Red at Eudora Welty's funeral in Jackson, Mississippi. He was untrained. You know, Barry Hannah went to University of Arkansas, Mississippi College. Barry Hannah got an MFA, taught at Oxford. Larry Brown, let me go ahead and say it, Larry Brown was a firefighter in Oxford for many, many years, and he loved, reading and writing. But at some point, he said, "You know what? Maybe I can do this as a career." And he treated it like Harry Crews treated sports. He practiced every day, practice. The famous poet W.S. Merwin said, "You got to write 75 lines a day. You got to hone your craft. You got to practice. You got to sharpen the tools of the trade." And Larry Brown did it day in and day out. He practiced. And finally, one day, an agent from, I think, New York saw it and said, "Let's go, baby. Are you ready? Are you ready?" And he goes, "Am I ready? I was born for this." And the rest is history. He died while he was working on an unfinished book called A Miracle of Catfish. But his notable works are The Rabbit Factory, Faye, Dirty Work. I have all of them, and they're all just amazing, I'm telling you. But this guy made me proud to be a Southerner. Do we have a perfect past? No, but nobody does. We got to learn from it. You got to learn from it, and we got to carry on and be better tomorrow than today. But there's a story in here called Old Frank and Jesus, and it changed my life. In my Colombian wife, who'd never read any American lit, that was the first short story she ever read. We've been together 20 years, and when I showed her this book, she said, no, get it away from me, because that story is so damn sad. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Read Old Frank and Jesus, and like Stephen King's Just After Sunset, the crown jewel of the collection comes later in the series of short stories at perfect timing, just like when you're at a concert and they're playing all the hits, but they haven't played that one song that you like yet. And well, about the time you say, "You know what, they're not going to play it, let me just get used to it," the lights go dark and bam, here comes that one tune that you came to the show to see and hear. Old Frank and Jesus. You got to read it. 10 raw, strictly 100 proof stories make up one of the more exciting debuts of recent memory. Facing the Music, Larry Brown's first book, was originally published in 1988 to wide critical acclaim. As the St. Petersburg Times Review pointed out, the central theme of these 10 stories is the ageless collision of man with woman, woman with man, with the frequent introduction of that other familiar couple, drinking and violence. Most often ugly, love is nevertheless graceful, however desperate the situation. There's some glare from the brutally bright light Larry Brown shines on his subjects, but for those readers who are willing to look unblinkingly along with the writer, there are unusual rewards, and there are rewards to this, I promise. You're going to love it. And I was talking to a student the other day, too, about how we celebrate each other. We have so much in common, right? We all come from somewhere else. We all have to work a shitty job for a boss we hate. We all have to pinch pennies to buy things we don't need. We're going to lose everybody we love. It's the differences that make us special. The little nuances in our diets, the foods, like we change paprika for red pepper. You know, the music, just the nuance between blues and Appalachian music. You know, country and bachata in South America. But our differences, though very small, that's what we should be celebrating, because we have so many other things in common. And this experience, man, I love this. Somebody was telling me the other day that some of my short story picks, actually it was the 10 greatest books ever written, that I should be more international and expand my worldview. Please allow me to say here that my worldview is expanded as much as it needs to be. I've traveled all over the world, and I've met writers from all over the world, and we share similar stories. The only difference is how we tell them. And I appreciate my roots and my people's stories more than anybody else, and you should too. That's why these stories, to me, are the best books of short stories ever written. I was reluctant to say that in the beginning, but obviously I'm 49 and I read these when I was a teen and a little bit older, and they never left me, and they won't leave you either. Larry Brown, Barry Hannah, Flannery O'Connor, William Faulkner, Stephen King, thank you. I love you. Guys, I love you too. So much that I'm going to shut up. There's no more books to show you. Please stay cool. Never stop reading. Get out there and have a wonderful day.